After moving into an old apartment building, Jake is unsettled by the persistent wail that echoes through the halls at night. At first, he dismisses it as the wind, but the sound grows more distinct, filled with sorrow and despair. Determined to uncover the source, he begins asking neighbors, only to discover that no one else seems to hear it. One evening, driven by curiosity, he follows the wail to a hidden door in the basement. Inside, he finds an abandoned room filled with children's toys and dusty furniture. In the center, a faded photograph reveals a woman holding a child, her eyes hollow, filled with grief. As Jake continues to explore, he learns that the woman, Maria, lost her child in a tragic accident decades ago and never left the apartment. The wailing is her way of calling for help, desperate for someone to remember her lost child. Feeling a connection, Jake starts leaving toys in the room. One night he dreams of Maria, who begs him to help her find peace. When he awakens, he finds a doll he left behind in his bedroom, now placed beside him, its eyes seeming to watch him. Determined to help, Jake organizes a small memorial for Maria's child, inviting neighbors who remember the tragedy. During the gathering, the wailing intensifies, growing louder until it becomes a piercing scream. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind bursts through the room, extinguishing the candles. In the chaos, Jake is knocked to the ground, and when he looks up, Maria stands before him, translucent and glowing. "Thank you," she whispers before vanishing. The wailing fades and the atmosphere lightens. But as the guests disperse, Jake feels an unsettling chill. Looking in the mirror, he sees Maria's face reflected behind him, a wide smile spreading across her lips. The next morning, the wailing returns, but now it echoes from within Jake himself, and he realizes he's become the new vessel for her sorrow. Sophie discovers an old porcelain doll in her grandmother's attic, beautifully detailed but with a cracked face. Intrigued, she takes it home and places it on her shelf. That night, she hears faint whispers that seem to emanate from the doll, telling her secrets about her family. At first, she finds it enchanting, enjoying the stories of her ancestors. But as days pass, the whispers grow darker, revealing unsettling truths. Family betrayals, hidden crimes, and a tragedy involving a cousin who went missing long ago. Sophie's fascination turns to dread when the doll begins to move, shifting positions on its own. One night, Sophie wakes to find the doll sitting at the foot of her bed, its eyes glowing eerily. It whispers, "Help me find what I lost." Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Sophie searches her family's past and discovers a hidden journal detailing the doll's original owner, a girl who vanished without a trace. Desperate to free herself from the doll's grip, Sophie decides to return it to the attic. But as she enters the attic, she finds a mirror reflecting not her own image, but that of the missing girl, her face twisted in anguish. The doll begins to laugh, its voice echoing in the attic, and Sophie realizes she's trapped in a cycle of the doll's curse. In a final act of defiance, Sophie smashes the doll on the attic floor. Instead of releasing her, the room darkens, and the whispers turn into screams. The doll shatters, but instead of the pieces, Sophie finds herself surrounded by the shadows of all the girls who had owned the doll before her, each pleading for help. As they close in, Sophie realizes she's become the latest victim of the doll's dark legacy, forever bound to its tragic fate. A group of friends, Emily, Jake, and Marcus, decides to camp in a notorious forest known for mysterious disappearances. As night falls, they hear whispers drifting through the trees, warning them to leave. Dismissing the sounds as the wind, they share spooky stories around the campfire, laughing off their fear. As the night deepens, the whispers intensify, echoing personal secrets and fears. Emily starts to feel an unsettling sensation, as if the shadows are watching them. The friends decide to investigate the source of the whispers, trekking deeper into the woods despite their growing unease. They come across an old, overgrown path and find a clearing filled with strange symbols carved into the trees. Suddenly, a dense fog envelops them, and the whispers become clearer, revealing dark truths about their friendships and hidden betrayals. One by one, the friends begin to vanish, pulled into the darkness as the forest consumes them. In a desperate bid to escape, Jake and Marcus hold hands, determined to find Emily. But the forest twists around them, the trees shifting and changing shape. They hear Emily's voice calling for help but can't find her. The shadows grow more aggressive, their whispers turning into screams. Just when they think all is lost, they stumble upon a clearing where Emily stands, surrounded by shadowy figures. She is entranced, whispering secrets to the shadows. "They want to keep me," she murmurs, her eyes blank. In a shocking twist, Jake realizes that Emily is not herself. She's become a part of the forest. The shadows urge him to join them, promising freedom. Marcus hesitates, but Jake grabs his arm, pulling him back. Together they fight against the shadows, breaking the connection. As the fog clears, they find themselves back at their campsite, but the forest is eerily silent. They think they've escaped until they notice a new tree has grown near their fire, a twisted version of Emily, with her face carved into the bark, whispering the secrets of the forest for eternity. After discovering a mysterious online playlist titled Songs for the Dead, Alex becomes intrigued. Each song on the playlist seems to carry a chilling history tied to tragic events. As he starts to play them, strange things begin to happen, friends vanish, and eerie coincidences occur that align with the lyrics. Desperate to understand, Alex digs deeper, researching the origins of the songs. He learns that each track is connected to a curse, and playing them summons the spirits of those who died in the song's narratives. As he listens, he feels their presence grow stronger, creeping into his life. One night, while playing the final song, he hears a chorus of voices crying out for help. In a terrifying revelation, he realizes that he's not just listening, he's been chosen to be the next victim of the curse. The spirits begin to manifest around him, each seeking retribution for their untimely deaths. In a last-ditch effort, Alex decides to confront the spirits by recording his own song, hoping to appease them. He writes about their stories, expressing empathy and sorrow. When he plays it back, the spirits gather, drawn to the sound. But instead of peace, they become enraged, feeling betrayed that he dared to share their pain. As the final note rings out, the spirits envelop Alex, pulling him into their realm. He wakes up in a dark void, surrounded by countless souls, each connected to their song. In a horrifying twist, he realizes he's now part of the playlist, forced to share his story while luring in new listeners, forever trapped in an eternal cycle of despair. After receiving a new game titled Elysium, gamer Max is immediately drawn in. The graphics are stunning, but there's a warning. Do not play alone. Ignoring the caution, Max dives in, captivated by the immersive world. He quickly realizes that the NPCs seem to know personal details about him, his fears, his dreams, even his deepest regrets. As he progresses through the game, he encounters a shadowy figure lurking in the corners of his screen, growing closer with each level. The figure starts to mirror his movements, and Max feels an unsettling connection. Friends who play the game with him begin to vanish in real life, leaving behind only their screens, eerily displaying the game's menu. In a frantic bid to escape the game's grip, Max searches for clues. He discovers that the game was created by a developer who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Each player who becomes too engrossed risks becoming trapped in the game forever. When Max reaches the final level, he confronts the shadowy figure, realizing it is a manifestation of his own darkest fears. In a shocking twist, the figure reveals that, to escape, he must willingly give up someone he loves. Faced with a devastating choice, Max must choose between his life and the life of his best friend. In a moment of desperation, he decides to sacrifice himself, confronting the figure with defiance. As he does, the game glitches violently, and the screen goes black. Max wakes up in his room, feeling free, but when he looks in the mirror, he sees the shadowy figure behind him, grinning wide. He turns, but there's nothing there, just a lingering chill. In the weeks that follow, he starts to notice that every time he plays a game, the figure appears, slowly creeping closer to him. Eventually, Max realizes he has become the new host, forever intertwined with the game, bound to lure in new players for the shadowy figure that now lives behind the screen.